Welcome to the Divine Feminines podcast and channel. I'm your host, Steph Desar, and in today's episode, we're talking about twin flames, the purpose of separation. Now, before I get started, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. We're the Divine Feminines on YouTube and on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. And we're also on social. That's Divine Feminines with a Z at Instagram and TikTok. Some great content for you to sort of be empowered by, inspired by, and, share with others. Why do you want to subscribe? Well, we have lots of great content on mind, body, soul empowerment, the twin flame journey, high vibrational soul connections, and lots more moon magic, moon manifestation, energy updates, portal updates, and it's everything for guys and girls. This is not limited to only women, may I remind you. So welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. I'm here in Dublin in the beautiful Marker Hotel, right in front of the docks. Beautiful space with lovely water behind me. It's getting a bit late, so probably you'll catch another video where I do it in the daytime, but it's been a great couple of days and I'm really grateful for being here. So twin flames and the purpose of separation. Now, I covered the twin flame stages. Now, I don't like giving the name twin flame many times because I do see this as more of a divine partnership, divine counterparts. But it's a good way to kind of explain it. Now, there's also high vibrational soulmates that do experience very similar stages and sort of interactions as twin flames do, which is very much connections that are being called and have been chosen by those two souls to trigger one another, to encourage one another to do the growth that is required for them to be their highest and best self on earth, to help create this new blueprint for love and for humanity. As you know, I talk about the new earth many times, and really for us to embody the energy and the vibration for the new earth, we really need to learn how to love unconditionally, be aware of our ego, but be able to allow our ego to sort of sit to one side and really act from our heart space, an open heart space, and from our soul, being our true authentic selves. And separation is pretty much how do we call this, the real foundation, the real sort of growth boot camp for that. Let's call separation a boot camp, because literally no one likes to go to boot camp when they want to lose weight, right? Let's be honest, or they want to get in shape. They say they want to get in shape. They say they want to look better, put on that dress and all of that. And when you're in boot camp and they're telling you to drop and give me 50 and then do suicide runs and whatever else that you have to do, right? Like it's like army training. You're like, why am I here? But deep down inside you want to be better. So it's just like boot camp, but it is really hard because just before you go into separation, and most twin flame dynamics will go through this. Some of you that are in a high vibrational soul connection will experience this. You are less likely to experience this with a soulmate because soulmate relationships are less arduous, they're less tumultuous. So it's not as necessary. You can probably grow and work together. It doesn't get that bad that you have to sort of split. Why does the split happen? Well, there's a stage, generally there's a moment, and I don't want to start calling out stages in a sequential order, because I said before in my other episode that you could experience things in a very different sort of sequence of events, and every journey is different. Every journey is unique. There's no textbook to this. This is literally souls that have come to earth and said, let's evolve, let's ascend, and we're going to do whatever it takes to do that, and whatever life events, interactions that we need as two souls to create that. So the runner and chaser stage is a stage where it's just after the kind of like honeymoon period. So everything's going great, you're sort of so into them, it's really intense, you're having the best time of your life, but it doesn't last that long, because then triggering starts happening, because you're there to trigger fears, wounds, things that need to be surfaced and healed in one another. And usually when that happens, one of the counterparts starts to get quite fearful, and really it's shining a light on stuff that they don't really want to look at right now, or they're not ready to look at, and they're not with the capacity to look at. They might not have the spiritual understanding, growth, maturity, the emotional intelligence to really go, I get what's going on and I can work on this. And so it can get quite toxic. And this is why, I really, really, really urge anyone that is experiencing any red flags or toxic behaviors in their relationship. I don't encourage you to just stay and put up with it. Yes, of course, you don't just walk away from someone and ghost them either, because that's pretty toxic in itself, although that does happen sometimes in twin flame dynamics. But really, I encourage, you to look at the situation and, speak from your truth, stand up for yourself, set your boundaries. And if it's a situation that's really draining you, you do need to step back. I would never encourage anyone to stay in any dynamic, twin flame or not, with the other person if it's really draining and compromising their well-being, their mental health, and their happiness ultimately. And in twin flame separations, usually, well, not usually, I don't want to say usually, but from some divine feminines I know of, from my own experience, it got to a point where you're like, I have to just walk away from this because, this is not sustainable. This is not healthy for me and my well-being. And as much as there's been some great moments here, I don't know what's happened, and I really need to like pull back my energy. So, let me go back and say, there can be moments where, one of the twins is running. Okay, now a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's the divine masculine. I don't want to label it. It might be the divine masculine, might be the divine feminine, but one of them does. Or they just can't handle it. And the other one's going, but yeah, but what about this? And we said this, or I said this to you and you're not responding, or I'm asking you what you want to do and you're not really telling me where I stand, or, you're not making an effort, or when I speak to you, you're kind of pushing me away, self-sabotage, or you're speaking to me disrespectfully, you're being really rude. Why are you being rude to me? You never used to be like this. It could be so many different things, but those moments start to conjure up and it can get quite intense. And so either one just completely runs and can ghost, can just distance, can be very, very, very at sort of like arm's length, or more than arm's length, but 100 yards or so length, and kind of doesn't really interact as much. They might keep some minimal contact, or they just stay minimal and they disappear in a sense that they're not making themselves available because they're not ready to handle what is being shown. And so that can trigger a separation. Other things that can happen is that one of the two is realizing, actually, this is too much. So it gets to a point where it's like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I've got to put my foot down. I've got to walk away. And that can be very hard, because these connections, there's really an essence of true love, right? And this is why I say a lot of people can misunderstand toxic relationships and try to label them as twin flames. I'm hearing so many people going, I think I've got a twin flame. I think I've got a twin flame. Please let me tell you that there's not that many twin flames here on earth. There are a group of them and they are here to do some significant work. The rest are also here to do significant work, but I sometimes feel that those are like trying to find the label and think that it's romantic. This is not a romantic sort of journey to go on. Yes, you do experience a really intense romantic sort of experience at one point, but most of the journey that you go through is really about evolution and growth and to be your best self. So, it's not something that should be, it's a trendy thing. I've seen some articles like going, oh yeah, you can manifest your twin flame and things like that. And I'm like, no, I don't personally agree with that. I'm just going to say, I know I'm digressing here, but I think that you can manifest a high vibrational soul connection, and that could be, if you are called on the twin flame journey, it could be a twin flame. But if you're not called on that journey, then that's fine. But it's still a high vibrational soul connection, and it's still here to help you evolve and grow. It's the right partner, divine partner for your highest and best good, and that's what's best to call in. But going back to the separation, right? Because I can't help it. When I get into these topics, I end up going down little rabbit holes because it can get quite complicated, but it has so many different elements to it and there's so much misinformation. It does gets me pent up sometimes. I'm like, no, I need to say this. So one might just say, this is really draining me, I need to walk away. And that is a smart, wise thing to do. It's like, actually, I deserve better than this. Now, I deserve better than this. There tends to be an element where so I'm going to talk about some of the different themes. One of the themes is that the ego is not ready to face the work that needs to be done. The ego hasn't really been decomposed enough to understand the spiritual, to allow for and accommodate the soul to come and embody its spiritual understanding, spiritual maturity. And that requires healing, that requires self-reflection, transparency, doing shadow work, mirror work, let's say, really delving deep into the fears and the trauma, into the subconscious brain, looking at past life. So, if none of that's been done or hasn't really been touched, the ego just plays a complete entire role here and goes, I can't do this. And so kind of runs away, steps back and just, pushes, there's abandonment issues, there's self-sabotaging issues. So it's like, I'm just going to ruin this, I'm going to push you away. And a lot of divine feminines might say, oh, my divine masculines just push me away. Like, it's really strange. Why is he doing that? One minute he was in love with me, next minute it's like, we're friends, or I'm like, it never really happened. And you could think you're going mad, right? And then you're trying and trying to kind of get them to understand, and they don't. Or you're like, okay, am I going crazy? And then you get drained. And then, to the point where you might feel like it's quite limited, it's disrespectful, there's lack of communication, you're being ghosted, and no one deserves to be there. But that then shows that there are elements in this interaction that requires self-love, and there is a lack of self-love, a lack of interdependency, because in that honeymoon period, what might not be obvious is actually there is a codependency that's happening. There are fears that are being like bonded on in some ways. And although there is a true essence of love playing out, there are other things that are connecting the two together, and they're kind of hiding within those things the deeper sort of work that needs to be done. So each is, having to look at self-love, look at independence, look at how they really become their highest and best self, but they're not ready for it. So the separation, again, it can happen because the timing's not right. Why is the timing not right? Because not enough work has been done. These connections are requiring two souls to have done enough soul growth, soul evolution, so that they can be role models for humanity. They can formulate the new blueprint of unconditional love and embody that wholeheartedly and authentically. So, if they are not ready to do that, there needs to be enough work for them to come together. Then they can continue to grow and heal together. But there needs to be a foundational layer. And usually in these connections, that foundational layer isn't there. And that's why this separation is important. And so for anyone that resonates with this journey, divine masculine, divine feminine, whoever is listening right now, however you want to kind of consider yourself, if you're in what you feel is a separation, know that this is a time for you to really do the work on yourself. Now, there is no time span to this. Time is but an illusion. Some people might go, oh, but it's been this much time. When am I going to get union? When is this? And if you're focusing on that, come on, guys. If you're focusing on that, what are you not focusing on? Your present moment, who you are, being grateful for, who you are, where you're at, focusing on yourself, developing yourself. And that's pushing externalizing. And, the main point of purpose of unconditional love is to let it be free. Love does not claim. Love is not conditional. Love is free flowing. And if it really is love, it will happen. And you have to have that trust. So surrendering is important. Pulling back that ego and allowing things to naturally unfold without trying to control them, right? And it's hard because those that are called on this journey are being asked to do some serious work that is unprogramming belief systems, behaviors, ways of doing things, and then literally crumbling everything that they had known to then reconstructing something much more healthier that can formulate more better relationships dynamics, and ultimately, be a light and an enlightenment for themselves in their highest and best way, and to do that within communities and for the earth, right? And that then gets bestowed upon their children, family, friends, and this has a magnifying effect. It's magnetic, it's amplifying, and it creates waves, electromagnetic waves of higher vibration. So this is not about romance. Like, yes, that's a nice to have, but this is not about romance. So for everyone that's listening here, like, oh, I really want to be with them, and I just want to do this with them, and I want to spend time with them. Yeah, that's all nice and well, love, guy, whatever. But are you doing the work? Have you done enough work? Are you only interested in this dynamic, or are you only interested in doing the work because it's on the condition that you get something at the end? Because if you're thinking like that, go back to the drawing board. I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to get what you want. And you can say, I said that to you. I'm going to say that straight. You're not going to get what you want. You focus on you and not on anybody else. You focus on being the highest and best version of yourself, and you will attract a high vibrational being. And so be it that it is maybe that person potentially that you were separated from, because they're ready for you. And this is the other thing. Like I said, timing. You're pulled away because it's not timing. There's work that needs to be done. These connections need a foundational layer of self-love, emotional intelligence, spiritual growth, soul growth, healing, understanding childhood traumas, being able to look at your inner child and go, you know what? Why was I behaving in that dynamic like that? Oh, was it because when I was younger, like my parents told me I wasn't good enough? And now I feel like I'm going to push this connection away because I don't feel I'm good enough. They might not like me. So I better just push them away before they realize they don't like me. So I'm just going to self-sabotage. You don't realize you're consciously doing it, but you do it. Or you push them away because you're scared to get abandoned. You don't want to trust to be with them because what if they leave you one day? What if everything they told you was a lie? But, this is the risk you do take with love, right? But you're able to take that risk and be vulnerable with somebody when you wholeheartedly love yourself. And so I always say this, I say, from when you can be with someone and they, regardless of whether they're there or not, you are still you, solid, anchored in your center point, knowing yourself wholeheartedly. You are unchanged. That is your power. That is your superpower. And we all have the ability to have that power. And it's a brilliant, awesome self-compassion, self-love, transparency of self, enlightenment, being able to be aware, self-conscious. And it is self-mastery. And on the topic of self-mastery, that's what it's all about. It's about going away and self-mastering. Now, feminines, I'm going to call you out because a lot of the feminines say to me, oh, and I said this once upon a time, I did say this, so I was part of the gang. I'm doing the work. So they're in the separation. I'm doing the work, Steph. I've been doing this and that. I've been doing my healing, I've been changing my diet. I've sorted out my home life. I've looked at traumas. I'm healthy. Well, it's about time. It's got to be time now. And then they're like, oh, well, it's not going to happen. We can't be together because he's not done enough work and he needs to do this. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're focusing on the other again. Just because you're doing the work doesn't mean that you're not doing the work and focusing. And what I told you about this is it's not about the focus on the other person. The focus has to remain on you. And then there cannot be any judgment. So when you're in separation, you don't even know what they're going through. We can never know what anyone's going through. We can only have an appreciation of what someone comes and tells us. So in separation, it could be a moment of complete silence. Some might have some minimal contact. There might be a few little, interactions. And sometimes they happen to raise more things to the surface that need to be worked on, and then they go. There are moments of in and out, and then there's just a complete out. But some relationships, dynamics, don't have a complete separation. It kind of does this. And that can be, when you've got kids with them, you work with them, there's things that are kind of binding you, so you have to see them. But it will still be somewhat of a separation because you're at a distance, even if it's not physically, but it's spiritually, emotionally, intimacy wise. There is a distance, and you can feel that. You can feel that they're not there, they're not actually present, or you're not there and you're not present, right? Or you just it's triggering you, so it's making you feel very uncomfortable. So yeah, I just want to say that, when you're doing the work and everything, just know that if you are genuinely high vibrational soulmates, twin flames, there is an energetic cord that connects you to. So as you're doing your work on yourself, the vibration raises and there's a connection with them. So that will influence them to raise their vibration. You're not there to do the work for them. And this is another thing I want to say to feminines. You're not here to fix nobody. Yeah, focus on yourself. The feminine that tries to fix another, whether it's the divine masculine, friends, family, that's a wounded feminine. You're not here to fix anyone else. You focus on yourself and only yourself. You can be helpful to others, but you need to know when to draw that line, because when it starts to become trying to fix others, trying to tell them what they need to do, you are overstepping the mark, and that is a wounded energy. And that is something that is coming from a wound. And I'm not here to call out whoever's wounds are what and what healing needs to be done, but know that. And also in the separation, there can be moments where, you might be going through this is never going to happen. Like, I'm doing all this work. This is never going to happen. Again, are you doing the work for the outcome, or are you doing the work for yourself? I'll tell you this, from personal experience of being in a separation, at the beginning, it was really hard. You just don't understand, why the heck is this happening? But as time goes on, you realize it is a blessing. It is a massive blessing. I have transformed. I have learned. I have become so much more powerful. I actually know what it is to love myself. I can be independent. I can, I'm happy to go out and have dinner for one. I'm happy to go and, travel the world by myself if you couldn't do that before. Whatever it is, I'm happy to be, a solo team member, because I can give myself everything I need and more. And that then means that you're completely interdependent. There isn't any need for codependency. You're healing that, right? Now, there are moments where you might think, okay, like, I'm doing all this great work, I'm feeling really good. There is a point that you could meet somebody, right? And so it's not that person that you were originally with. Do you get with them? It's not for me to say. If you're chasing, though, to be with someone, so you get into a separation and you're not doing the work, and you're kind of like, you're needing, and then you go and kind of almost externalize it and find someone. So you go out to a club, or you go somewhere, you're like, but I need, what, or whatever, and you kind of go outside. If you're doing that quite soon on after the separation, you're not getting the message. And you're going to have to go through even more cycles to get the message. And so everyone's different, right? Like, not everyone heeds the message at the right time or the same time. But whatever time you do heed it, it's the time you need to hear it, right? Or you're finally ready to hear it. Let's say you're finally ready to hear it. So you may find yourself running off to try and find some replacement. That's not going to work out. You're going to be playing out the same stuff, or you're just going to leave yourself in a stagnant situation. And sometimes, even with the twin flame dynamic, it gets stagnant as well. That's why it has to be ripped apart, right? Because there's no growth. And that's another reason why the twins have to kind of go into a separation, because together the growth is not really that possible. It's not as effective because it's too intense. It's pulling at each other too much. And being in a separation allows them to really focus and get that sort of self-reflection, self-mastery, focal time, really. So you may find that you meet with someone. Now, if you're not chasing it and it comes to you, it could come to you as a representation of some of the work that you're doing. And it's up to you if you want to be in it. If you do decide to be in it, it can be a very valuable way for you to practice open communication, setting boundaries, how you want to embody a healthy dynamic relationship. So you could use that as a practice. And it only really will work if you genuinely feel that it's for you. If you're doing it from a place of genuine intention and, desire, then it's an opportunity. It can be a soulmate that is coming to just help assist further growth. And some do meet a soulmate that helps them see things that they need to still see, that they couldn't have seen by themselves. Now that could be romantic, or it could be even friends or family. So in this time of separation, the other point is it's a great time to leverage the other connections that you have to help you grow, but also to, through your self-mastery, you can show up better into these dynamics. So if you're lacking self-love and you've gone on the journey to really give to yourself, your cup will start to be full and overflow, and you'll be able to see how that inward work is manifesting in your external environment. I mean, I myself have seen transformational things from my separation, so I'm super grateful for having gone through that whole experience, because from family to friends to realizing who I am, being in my power, and even becoming even stronger than I've never even thought I could possibly get to a point of. So it is a phenomenal experience. And that is really, the purpose. That is the purpose of separation. It's to get you to a really strong place in yourself, to a point where you've really, ultimately self-mastered the self-love, the self-compassion. You're able to understand when you need to go inwards, tap into that feminine energy. This is kind of the time of union within self-union, inner union, as we call it. It's the balance of your masculine and feminine energy. And if you want to learn how to balance your masculine and feminine energy, check out my other episode, which gives some advice and some tips on what that's like. But really being able to have the union within, because that is what lacks, and that's why the separation happens, because a union in the external environment between the two souls is not possible if each soul is not whole in themselves. And I think one of the most toxic things is when someone says, oh, you complete me. Oh, no, no, no. You do not complete me. You complete you, and I complete me. And that's something that a lot of dynamics, have to kind of play out, where sometimes they feel like, oh my God, this is intense. I'm really, this is an incredible experience. I'm loving this. It's incredible. Like, oh, they're my one. But then there's an over focus on the other person. It's like, oh, I need you. You complete me. But that's just showing that there is a void within. That there is a lack of self-love. So the separation period is very necessary, and it's so funny because I think some counterparts may say that they went through a moment where before it was sort of separation, either one or the other were saying, oh, like, let's just be friends. They were trying, that was their way of the ego running. Like, they were maybe not running away like drastically, but they were trying to play it down, going, oh, we're really good friends, and like kind of pretend that what happened didn't happen, and you think you're going mad. So they may try to do the whole friends thing, and that can be really tough because you're still getting triggered. So you might have to just go, no, I can't do this friends thing, or it's too intense for me. But stay tuned, because I will do an episode of, generally and overarchingly, whether in separation or not, just longer term, can you be friends with your twin flame? Is that even possible if you decide that then you're not going to be with them, or romantically, can you actually do that? That's a very sort of big debate in itself, and many may have their own views. I'm going to share mine, and so stay tuned to that episode. But I really hope that this serves you well, this whole separation purpose and topic. Many divine feminines are in separation right now, and if you're focusing on your separation as a way that you want to get to a union with your twin, and that's what your destination is, then you're focusing all on the wrong things. Really embody your highest and best self. Focus on yourself. This is not about, trying to be with somebody. This is about trying to be with yourself. And yes, if it's meant to be, it will happen and it will come your way. Now, you may go into separation and then you get drawn back to them again. And things are going well for a week to a couple of months. There's a great kind of synergy there. And then it happens again. Why does that happen again? Because the work that needs to be done foundationally is not ready. And so more triggers are coming to the surface. And honestly, on my journey, I feel like I did have more than one sort of separation. And it was necessary. When I look back, it was absolutely necessary. It was needed. It was needed. And I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be telling you all of this and sharing this all with you from a place of genuine love that I have for the soul tribe, because I want everyone to heed this message, and genuine place of self-growth and transformation, where I'm embodying my highest and best self right now, and I can share this. And I know that, like I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it really does teach you of how to master yourself, be your best self, but know what's a healthy way to show up in a relationship, and also realize what's healthy for you to receive and experience in a relationship with another. So please, guys and girls, don't focus on, when is my separation going to end? When am I going to get union? Or how long is this going to be? Like, it's taken too long. Really focus yourself on yourself. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your journey. Laugh. Be present. Self-indulge. Give yourself that love. Go and explore life. We don't know how long we're here on this earth, but we did come here to experience this life here on earth. So life is too short. Shine your light, speak your truth, spread love, choose love, be authentic, and empower and encourage yourself, because by doing so, you naturally empower and encourage everyone else. So I hope that helps. And please leave any messages, likes, drop me a note if you want. I'm here, love you always, and sending you peace, love, light, and abundance. Mwah, mwah. See you later, guys.